welcome to this historical explainer for animated Quranic tales. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we are exploring a deeply profound chapter in history, Ayam al-Huzn, famously known as the Year of Sorrow.
To really understand what's happening here, we have to set the scene. Imagine two completely contrasting realities for the early Muslims. On one hand, you've got a group who recently migrated across the sea to Abyssinia, right? They've finally found a little pocket of temporary peace and safety. But back in Mecca, well, things were falling apart. The atmosphere was rapidly deteriorating. The Meccan leadership's pride was deeply wounded, and their frustration at the growing, undeniable influence of the Muslims was literally reaching a boiling point. The stage was absolutely set for one of the most intense, heart-wrenching periods in Islamic history. So it really makes us ask, what happens when the greatest worldly shields protecting the message of Islam are suddenly stripped away? I want you to hold on to that concept, that idea of shields, throughout our time together today. We're going to explore what is arguably the ultimate test of perseverance. Just imagine having an invincible physical protector, like a literal shield that courageously absorbs every single blow aimed at you, and then having that shield suddenly, without warning, taken away. How do you stand firm when all your worldly defenses just vanish?
So let's look at how the Quraysh initially tried to break this shield. When brute force completely failed to stop the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and that was simply because his uncle, Abu Talib, was standing firmly in the way, the Meccan leaders realized they had to change their tactics. They went straight to Abu Talib with the ultimate worldly temptations. They offered two massive, unimaginable bribes. First, infinite wealth. They said, "We will make you the richest among us." And second, absolute political power. "We will accept you as our absolute leader." It was a desperate, coordinated attempt to just buy the Prophet's silence by handing him the world on a silver platter. But the response they got? It's honestly one of the most legendary, awe-inspiring declarations in human history. As recorded in detail in Sirat ibn Hisham, the Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, "By Allah, if they place the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left to abandon this work, I will not leave it until Allah makes it prevail or I perish in its path." Just listen to the absolute resolution in those words. No hesitation. He completely, unequivocally rejected the wealth and the power. And when Abu Talib heard this unyielding stance, he was deeply moved. With tears in his eyes, he told his nephew to go and say whatever he wished, promising his unwavering physical protection against the Quraysh, no matter the cost. But that physical protection wouldn't last forever. As we enter the 10th year of prophethood, the crucible truly begins. The Prophet is about to lose his outer shield. Abu Talib, this fierce protector who had stood like a literal iron wall against the Meccan elites, falls critically ill. The formidable physical defense that had guarded the Prophet, peace be upon him, through a whole decade of intense hardship was fading right before his eyes. So the Prophet rushes to his uncle's deathbed. You can imagine the emotional stakes in that room. They were unimaginably high. He loved his uncle dearly. This was the man who raised him, who protected him, and he wanted nothing more than his uncle's ultimate salvation. So he makes this desperate, loving plea. He says, "O my uncle, say La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah, a phrase by which I will testify for you before Allah." It's a moment of just profound vulnerability, right? A nephew begging his beloved uncle who had saved his life over and over again to let him save his eternal soul. But here's the tragedy. The Prophet wasn't alone in that room. The devastating reality, and this is explicitly authenticated in Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 3884, is that the staunch enemies of Islam, Abu Jahl and Abdullah bin Abi Umayyah, were standing right there, and they viciously interfered. As the Prophet kept offering the declaration of faith, these men kept pressuring the dying Abu Talib. They were challenging his pride, asking him, "Will you abandon the religion of your father, Abdel Muttalib?" And under this intense, aggressive pressure in his final moments, Abu Talib passed away. His final words were that he remained on the religion of Abdel Muttalib. He just couldn't bring himself to say the phrase. The grief was just overwhelming. The Prophet, peace be upon him, completely overcome with sorrow, made a vow. He said, "By Allah, I will keep praying for your forgiveness until I am forbidden to do so." Now, what's really fascinating here is how that grief-stricken vow was addressed. It wasn't answered with human logic. It was answered gently but firmly by divine revelation. Surah At-Tawbah verse 113 was revealed, and it stated clearly, "It is not for the Prophet and those who have believed to ask forgiveness for the polytheists, even if they were relatives, after it has become clear to them that they are companions of hellfire." It established this incredibly profound divine law that the bonds of faith actually supersede even the deepest bonds of blood and familial love.
And as if that wasn't enough to bear, the void was about to deepen even further. He was about to lose his inner shield. Just as the prophet, peace be upon him, was grappling with the crushing loss of his physical protector, the tragedy escalated. Just days or perhaps a few months later, he lost his greatest emotional support. You see, while Abu Talib protected him out in the streets, there was someone else who protected his heart inside the home. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the tragedy that unfolded that year. On one side, the outer shield was gone. Abu Talib, the guy providing external, physical protection in that highly hostile environment of Mecca. But on the other side, the inner shield was gone too. His beloved wife, Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her. For 25 years, she was his internal emotional comfort. She was the profound peace he returned to when the outside world was just terrifying. With both of these shields removed almost simultaneously, the prophet was left completely exposed. He was enduring escalating external persecution without his uncle, while simultaneously suffocating under deep internal grief without his wife. The impact of losing Khadija literally cannot be overstated. She was the ultimate comfort, the very first believer. Long after she was gone from this temporary world, the prophet, peace be upon him, would often weep simply remembering her. Just listen to how he beautifully described her legacy with such immense respect. She supported me when everyone rejected me, believed in me when people dismissed me, and helped me with her wealth when people deprived me. It's a true testament of pure, unyielding love and partnership. In a world full of cruel rejection, she was his unwavering sanctuary.
Because these two monumental losses happened practically back to back, history formally defines this pivotal 10th year of prophethood as al-Huzn, which translates to the year of sorrow. This year was entirely defined by the crushing weight of isolation and immense grief. Without Abu Talib there to physically stop them, the Quraysh immediately escalated their persecution. They became bolder, more vicious than ever before. The prophet, peace be upon him, was left facing this relentless opposition outside, with an empty, grieving home waiting for him on the inside.
But from a historical and spiritual perspective, there are some incredibly profound takeaways from these agonizing events. This whole era, it was about the complete stripping away of worldly comforts. It was the ultimate test of patience for the greatest of prophets. You see, this crucible of sorrow wasn't just some random tragedy. It served a divine purpose, to remove every single worldly crutch, every outer and inner shield, so that what remained was an absolute, unshakable reliance purely on Allah. It teaches us that the path of truth often requires enduring unimaginable loneliness, but that true support comes directly from the divine when all earthly avenues are completely closed. Which brings us to the ultimate question that this entire explainer poses to us today. When every worldly shield falls away, is your reliance on Allah strong enough to stand alone? It is a deeply provocative thought to leave you with, and one that the year of sorrow exemplifies perfectly. If you found this breakdown insightful and you want to keep exploring the profound historical lessons hidden in our past, make sure you subscribe to Animated Quranic Tales for more immersive explainers. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Stay focused and keep seeking knowledge.